Oh, hey there guys, hope you're having an excellent Friday. You know, this week has been really busy for me. As you might already know, the collaboration channel that I'm a part of has officially been named and is now known as Press Play Every Day. And it will be starting this Monday. But I've been working on a lot of things to help trim the channel up and make it look nice and presentable for all you wonderful people. Because I've got a lot of cool techniques that I use to help get things done a lot faster. And I think it's time I share a couple of those with you. So if you remember last week, I talked about how you can add color correction and different things to your videos to make them that much spicier and professional. All I did though was tell you to do that. But what if you've never done that in your life? Maybe you have access to those materials, but you've never used them. Well, lucky for you, color correction, as well as a whole host of other simple tools, are available across most editing platforms, and I'm sure you can get your hands on some of these things for free. What I'm going to be showing you how to use though today is Sony Vegas. My particular version, HD Platinum 11. But this really works across pretty much any version of Sony Vegas. Enough of the pre-lip. Let's go ahead and jump into the editing booth, shall we? Oh! Alright, so here are two clips, really one clip duplicated from last week that I'm going to be showing you guys. Here's our final product. Let's take a listen and take a look.
Third thing, make sure your room is well lit. Now, because you're using an HD camera for this audition, you're going to need way more light than you think, because HD cameras...
Alright, so it looks good, it sounds good, everything about it is exactly the way that I want it. But, didn't start that way. Here's the original clip if you guys remember from last week.
Third thing, make sure your room is well lit. Now, because you're using an HD camera for this audition...
It's very washed out, very bright, very plain looking. And we can all agree that that is way better than that. Now, one thing I want to show up before we start, guys, my lighting setup. Here's where I have the external mic, which, by the way, wasn't functioning properly for me today, which is why the audio will sound different from this week, from last week. But regardless, there's the setup. This is the cord that runs to the external mic setup. Right here is where I have the external mic. There's where my tripod is. Obviously, I'm filming with the camera, not there. And this bad boy is the green screen light that I use, oh so bright, to get this lighting on my face. Oh look, there we are. Say hi.
So, how do we get this into this? Well, if you notice, guys, I've got something working on down here under Event Effects. If you click on that, it'll show you everything that I'm applying to this one clip. I've got brightness, contrast, color curve, saturation adjustment, sharpening, color correction, and a hue light and saturation adjustment at the very end, even still. So, there's a lot going on. What does all this mean? What does all this do? Let's figure it out one by one. So, we start with the brightness and contrast. You can find that under video effects over here, guys. These tabs show you different things. Video effects is where we want to be right now. Brightness and contrast. You just click on that and drag it over. Don't even worry about any of the other presets, alright? So, our image is quite bright, and we don't really want to make it brighter. So we're going to lower that until we see it's about where we want it to be, right? Something like, about like that. That's pretty good. Then we're going to increase the contrast. Not too much, because the image is already pretty white, and well, I'm pretty white. I mean, I glow. But basically, this is a case-by-case kind of thing, guys. And so everybody's video footage is going to look different. But for the clip in question, this is where we want it to be. Around like this. So, after we do that, what's our next step? We're moving on to color curves. This is kind of like a secondary brightness and contrast enhancement, really, when you think about it. Because I'm using all the channels, red, green, and blue, and I'm taking and basically making a nice little S-curve with it. And that's going to help increase the drama a bit and increase what we're looking at here, right? So you can see on this color curves, I kind of made it more like a bend rather than an S-curve. Now, main reason for that is because I've got such a white spot here, such a bright spot from this light that's shining off in this direction, that I want to lower it a bit, lessen it, make it look a little more natural to the eye. And you see how that's already kind of working to our advantage? Now, what do we have next? Saturation adjustment. Saturation is very important to apply to all of your video footage because it takes any of the colors that are already existing and makes them pop more intense. It's more pleasing to the eye and more interesting to look at when everything is more of an intense color than it is in real life. Now, Sony Vegas has two different kinds of saturation adjustments. This is the first one that I usually end up using before I use the hue light saturation. This one's tricky because it tends to make things look a little too punchy to me sometimes. So you really be very careful. You're increasing the amount. These are the lows and the highs. Essentially, if you play around with these long enough, you could make a single color and just isolate it if you wanted to. But basically, you're just messing with these three and increasing as you see fit. And I want to make sure I'm keeping the same kinds of, playing with the same numbers here, same levels. And that's roughly about where I want it, because it makes things pop more. Now, if you really don't see a difference, turn it off. Boom. You see how that becomes a lot more pale and pasty, and now you just can't live without it. You have to have, boom, that saturation. It warms things up in all these areas, gives me myself a more natural skin tone, like I actually go out in the sun, which I don't. Moving on, we have Sharpen. Now, Sharpen's a thing that you can or can't use. It really all depends on what you want. Sometimes I've noticed that maybe I don't always set the camera in focus completely like I want to, or my edges are just a bit too soft. Sometimes that's what you want, but in this case, I don't. I want to make it look a little more crisp and clean, and so taking the sharpening tool to about 170 is going to take these edges, you can see already, boom, right along the edge. Now, you may also be noticing that this doesn't look that fantastic, the image quality. I have it set to draft half. That allows me to work fast and see all of the effects I'm applying on without slowing down my computer, but it's not full quality. This is full quality, what I'm looking at. It's a slight difference, which is great, because HD cameras, you can really lower the resolution of the image and it doesn't, change much. I'm spitting out too much jargon. Let's keep moving on. So go back to draft full so I can work again. So that's what the sharpening tool is going to do for us, alright? That was our next step. Our next step, if you look over here, is going to be the color corrector. This is where the meat of the tutorial is, right here, guys. These three lovely color wheels. You can find the color corrector on the left side here. Boom, drop that sucker right in. So, color corrector is basically going to determine the mood and the tone of the scene. It's what gives this image here that sort of sepia tone vignette, warm vlog style. You can set this to be whatever you want it to be. What I've naturally found that I like is warm tones in vlogs, because that's the idea. It needs to be warm and feel homey and feel comfortable, make the audience feel comfortable. So you can mess with your lows, your mids, and your highs, and you can kind of get a feel for what they do. You see some of the extremes that you can push this to, but you want to keep it nice and natural. Give the whole room a bit of an orange glow, not too much. You don't want it to look like you didn't white balance your camera. Your mids, you'll see that these are more of these mid-tones, mainly the shadowy regions of the environment and the style. Now sometimes I like to mix the warms and the cools, and that kind of creates this very nice balance in the image. And so I'm trying to match it as best as I can. But, every time I do this, it's always a little bit different. Let me see exactly what I had here. See, so I'm dancing in the warms here, a little bit here, and then I see the lows I touched upon the cool areas, like this. And more like that. And so you see, it's starting to come together and look a bit closer to what we want it to be. Right? Nice, warm, and inviting. So, what's left? Hue, saturation, light, adjustment, HSL. So, all we're really touching on here is just a little bit of luminance and a little bit of more saturation, just to give it that extra little punch at the end. Boom, we drag that in. We up that saturation just a bit because we want a little bit more, and just a little bit on the luminance, just to lighten the image, just a bit. And it really is a very subtle thing we did, but you can see Yoda back there is now a little brighter. These areas are just a little bit more, creates more focus. Speaking of focus, we're missing something here. Something looks different, doesn't it? Just a bit different, other than the fact that this is probably a little more punchier than this image. See these edges around here? How they're kind of darkening and everything is fading right into the center? This is where your focus is drawn to. The reason for that is this little guy right here. He's known as a vignette. Now, vignettes can be found under media generators, and you head on to color gradients, and here's where all of your color gradients are, and this is what I use. It's called the elliptical transparent to black. Now, when you drag this sucker in and put on top of your image, that's what you get, and it looks like that. And that is, well, the most basic definition of a vignette, and really is very harsh, very intense. Not what we want, obviously. So you take the 2-point here, you drag it to the edge, as far out as it can go. Get those corners dark, not this area of the image here, right? Then, this is your transparency. The alpha is set to 100, so that means it's not transparent at all. The center is, but the outside is not. So we want to fix that and lessen it greatly, right? Drag it, I don't know, to about half is usually where I like to put that. It's already looking pretty good. However, there's one tricky little detail about vignettes in Sony Vegas that I discovered the hard way and don't particularly like about them. When you're on full quality, it's a little difficult to tell, but especially when you render out the image, you will see that this doesn't completely fade into the image itself, and sometimes on occasion you will see a harsh circle-like line around your video footage. So to fix that, go back to your video effects and go and look for a Gaussian blur. Gaussian blurs are going to help kind of smooth out those edges at the end. Look at me, I can't even put things in alphabetical order. Here we go. Gaussian blur, drag that right on top. You can drag that sucker as high up as you want and blur it as much as you want, because all it's going to do is just take these edges and fade them out much better and make it much smoother. So, there you guys have it. I think it's time to go ahead and close this out. Let's head on back to my room.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little tutorial, and I hope that helped you kind of sort some things out. And I'm sure your videos are looking magnificent. If there's anything else I could help you with, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be right here every week, every Friday. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, like, and share this video with all of your fantastic friends. As always, this has been Stafeezy. Oh, stay tuned for that collaboration channel, guys. This Monday, trailer coming out sometime this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I'll see you guys next week. Before you go, remember, life is a play, and the play is the thing. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right. We were taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Star, 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 Stafeezy, stalk me.